Hello. Don't look now, but we may be in the midst of a hardware renaissance here in the Silicon Forest. More on that in a minute. But before we get into the big news for the week, some of the smaller news items that were trickling about today, yesterday, this week. It was a short week. It was only a 4-day week. Certainly did not feel like a 4-day week, at least to me. But some of the other news items that I found interesting, lots of news bubbling about Governor Tina Kotek's Prosperity Council. They met. There were TV cameras there. There were journalists there. Lots of people saw the council in session. So lots of news bubbling about that. Nothing really to report on yet, except that there is the Prosperity Council and they met. So I obviously would keep an eye on that. And I cannot pronounce words today. I'm only pronouncing half of words. So that's just how it's going to be. Get ready. And there was a proposal, speaking of government, a interesting proposal to combine Portland city government with Multnomah County government. If I'm remembering correctly, they had some meetings about it. There's stuff bubbling about it. The best name I've heard in a long time, Multnomah County. This program, idea, concept, it's a concept of an idea, is called Multnomah. Multnomah is proposing that Multnomah and the city combine into one government entity in some way, shape, or form. I've just learned about it. I'm trying to get up to speed. But if that sounds interesting to you or something you'd like to research, I will definitely link that up. And then, as you may already be able to tell, stick around for secrets at the end because I'm pretty cranky today. So who knows? I may go off the rails in secrets. We'll have to see. This is me being in a good peppy mood. So who knows what it's going to get like once I get to secrets. Okay, the big news this week. Let me scroll on my script so I stay on the script. Big news, of course, this week. AheadComputing raised $30 million, bringing their total funding to $53 million. If you don't remember AheadComputing, they are a bunch of Intel alums who are working on RISC chip architecture. So CPU architecture designed to better support the computational needs of the artificial intelligence and other high processor load, high chip load workloads that modern day technology require. And trying to figure out, obviously, energy use, throughput, payload, computery type stuff and words like RISC.
RISC architecture is going to change everything.
Yeah, RISC is good.
Really smart Intel people. Obviously, investors have a lot of trust in what they're doing. And it really makes me think, as I said at the top, that we are in the midst of a forming hardware renaissance. You know, we talked about Agility Robotics last week. They're one of the world's leading humanoid robot companies, and they're down near Salem, and they're doing really, really well. They contributed when the stories that came out was that Oregon had raised almost $1 billion in venture capital in 2025, which I realize doesn't sound like that big of a deal when, OpenAI is out there raising $12 trillion for their Series A, but it's big for Oregon to have that much money, $1 billion. But the thing is, Agility Robotics was half of that. Agility Robotics was $400 million raised last year. So they've got something going. They're definitely in the lead when it comes to humanoid robots. We've got AheadComputing, which is raising more money, working on this RISC architecture. We've got Muon. Remember Muon? They have the chiplets that you can rearrange the chiplets to deal with energy and throughput and processor power. They have a bunch of money that they've raised. So there's a lot of interesting hardware stuff going on. And then you talk about things like Photon Marine that's building EV boats and those kind of things. So, or at least the outboard motors for the boats. So I'm feeling really bullish on hardware lately. This region has always been really good at hardware, back from the very, very earliest of the Tektronix days, and Intel and Mentor Graphics and all those kind of things. But it's really interesting to see this energy coming back. And then, of course, NVIDIA has personal ties to the region, since Jensen Huang went to Aloha High School and went to Oregon State University. But yeah, AI is driving a lot of this. Robotics obviously driving a lot of this. But I am really interested to see, especially with Intel kind of like not being the powerhouse it once was, if we see more of these spin-offs, more activity in hardware, more interesting things happening in the Silicon Forest around hardware and chips and all that kind of thing. So stay tuned. Oh, and drones, like drones out in Pendleton. That's hardware. Drones in Pendleton. All kinds of hardware stuff. So I'll keep tracking on this. I will keep my eye on the Renaissance, as it were, and keep you informed about what's happening. But the big story this week, AheadComputing raising $30 million. All right, this is the news that easily made me the happiest this week, which, as I said, given the week I've had, was a challenge to make me happy, but this definitely did. The Silicon Forest Tech Summit 2026 has announced dates and opened up tickets. It will be happening March 14th at the Oregon Convention Center, which is a sizable venue. The first Silicon Forest Tech Summit I went to was out in Hillsboro in a very nice facility. The next year, it moved into Portland. It was in the lower level of Veterans Memorial Coliseum. We were basically underneath the ice rink, and there were thousands of us, 1,000 of us at least, underneath the ice rink for Silicon Forest Tech Summit 2025. And so we're getting even bigger. This year, Joseph and his team were like, we can go bigger. We can go bigger. We can do more cool things. We can have more cool speakers. We can have thousands of people show up this time. So all I'm saying is get your ticket. I promise you, it is the best event in the region every year, without a doubt. I always get these questions from people. They come to me and they say,
Hey, Rick, I'm new to the region, or I'm new to startups. If there were one must-attend event that you would suggest that I attend, what would that event be?
And without hesitation, every single time, I say Silicon Forest Tech Summit, because it's awesome. It's just such a good event. And it's usually, like a noon to afternoon kind of thing. It's not a huge commitment of time. It's a single day event. All kinds of companies, from the big ones like Daimler are there, down through the newest startup or people thinking about concepts and ideas, speakers from all over the place, from footwear, from creative, from tech, from clean tech, from sustainability, all of them. All kinds of interesting speakers from the Silicon Forest come together for this event. And it's really become a bright, shining, happy spot in my life every year. And I hope you choose to attend as well. It's well worth it. And the tickets are not expensive, but there are also tickets available on a sliding scale, because what they say is like, we want to make this event accessible to everyone. So if you can afford to pay the ticket price, please do. But if you can't, pay what you can to help these folks do the important work they do and program this amazing event for all of us. Okay? So I'm going to get together with Joseph and his team. I'm going to try and come up with something that I can do to, apart from promoting, something that maybe I can do at this year's. I've had the opportunity to do a couple things. Like the first year I got to do like a promo thing that we thought it was funny. Who knows if anybody else did. I got to speak last year. This year, if they're taking it up a notch, I feel like I have to do something to take it up a notch. So I'll start thinking about that. I ran into Yosef this week, and I'm going to grab time with him next week, I think. So I would definitely start planning Silicon Forest Tech Summit. I will see you there. I was worried I couldn't make it because it was conflicting with South by Southwest, but I think I've got that figured out. So I look forward to seeing you at the Silicon Forest Tech Summit 2026, Oregon Convention Center, March 14th. Easy for me to remember because that is Pi Day. 314 Pi Day. So that's where we'll all be. We'll all be at the convention center on Pi Day. Come hang out. Come see some awesome speakers. Silicon Forest Tech Summit 2026. My voice tonight, I apologize. My voice is awful. I'm grumpy. I'm in a shitty mood. My voice is not cooperating. You're putting up with this. Thank you for being here. Thank you for putting up with it. Just a little bit more. And then we'll get into the secrets and then you can go. Or you can skip the secrets. So you might not even need the secrets this week. You might be like, I've had more than enough of you just hearing the news. I don't need your secrets. I totally get it. It's fine. I won't hold it against you. It's perfectly fine. But now the show's going to get a little bit meta because this is very much a weekly podcast. And now, as part of the weekly podcast, I'm going to talk about all of the amazing podcast episodes that dropped this week. I found a ton of them about local folks appearing as guests or like interviews I got to do with someone or someone interviewing me. So like, let's talk about things you can consume very quickly, very easily. You just pop on the YouTube, you listen to the people talk, you learn a bunch of stuff, you learn about the community, you learn about some of the programs in the community. Easy peasy, my friend. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. I'm going to give you recommendations. These are 4 podcast episodes that dropped this week that I think you should listen to. Okay, first and foremost, Josh Carter, Upstart Collective, was on the Hiring for Good podcast. You know, Josh does the Portland Startup Week. He does the Demolicious. He does the Founder Coffee. He does the Upstart Collective. He does lots of things that I'm probably not even giving credit for. But you mean being like, I already know Josh Carter. Why would I listen to the podcast? Because you're going to learn so much about the things that he does and he has done in his life. Just let me set it up for you with the words of the host as they open the show. Quote, rooted in entrepreneurship, leadership development, and ecosystem building, Josh has become a central figure in Portland's innovation landscape. He is known for championing founders, elevating overlooked talent, and creating opportunities that help businesses not only launch, but scale sustainably. Under his leadership, Upstart Collective has become a catalyst for collaboration, creativity, and meaningful economic impact in the region. So there you go. That's why you need to listen to that. So that's the first one, Josh Carter on the Hiring for Good podcast. Next is Jack Fan, the new executive director, serial founder, successful exits, raised venture capital, done a bunch with AI. Jack Fan is the executive director of the Oregon AI Accelerator, which kicked off at the end of last year and should be any day now, telling us about the class they've selected for their first inaugural cohort. It's not their first inaugural cohort. It's either their inaugural cohort or their first cohort, depending on how you would like to say those words. But it's not like the El Royale. So anyway, Jack appeared on the Next Round Ready podcast with Christopher Hines and had a great conversation. I learned a lot about his thinking around the Oregon AI Accelerator, about his plans, about what he was hoping would have the impact, about his hopes and vision for what it could do for the community, while also grounding it in the fact that this is, in fact, a pilot program. So it's attempting something to prove out the possibility and potential of what they envision. it being. And so Jack spends some time explaining all that kind of stuff, geeking out about AI, and all of that kind of thing. So if you're even remotely curious about what's going on with the Oregon AI Accelerator, you want to listen to Jack Fan on Next Round Ready podcast with Christopher Hines. And again, just make that a regular listen. Chris does a great job. I was humbled to be on there as a guest earlier in the year, and this is really good. And he's turning out a lot of good content, and he's really eager to talk to people in our community. He's up in Seattle, but he's eager to talk to Portland people as well. So add that one to your playlist, give it a review, subscribe to it on YouTube, all those good things. It's a good one, and he has lots of good, really well-spoken and informative guests. So Jack Fan, Next Round Ready podcast. And then I got the opportunity to talk to Eric Paxton, who is building an app called Resplain that is designed to help people with contracts and understanding legalese and all those kind of things. I've known Eric for a long time. He's one of those people who is always really good at being that kind of early technical hire that really helps a visionary founder kind of realize the product that they're trying to build. And I've always had a great deal of respect for what he brings to a company and the roles that he tends to play and succeed at playing in early stage startups. So he's great. Resplain is super interesting. You may remember it. You may have heard of it. He took third place in Pitch Black last year with Resplain. And it's just a really good conversation. Not because I just ask the questions. Eric provides all the good insights and education and explanation and all that kind of stuff. So for Eric's sake, I would really love for you to listen to what he has to say on the startup stories with Silicon Florist. And then finally, I am highlighting this because I really like Zhou Fong and the work she does with the Intersection podcast, but I was a guest on there. So if you get through all these and you're suddenly like, okay, I can listen to one more, listen to that one. And the interesting thing there is I'm not just talking about startups. I tell a lot of origin story, some personal stuff that I don't regularly get into because that's just kind of how I am. But I was really humbled to be invited on that podcast and really enjoyed the conversation. Zhou does a great job, great interviewer, and had some really thoughtful questions that kind of challenged me to answer them. So I had to go off script, I guess is the best way to put it. I can usually kind of rattle off the same responses to most everything because I get asked the same questions so often. But, Zhou caught me a little bit off guard with a few of them. So that's the Intersection podcast. Of course, I will link that up as well. Okay. My voice has about had it. All right. If you're still here, thank you for staying. This is the secrets portion of the podcast. This is where my chair will squeak and my energy level will drop. Because as I said, it's just been a shitty week for any number of reasons. Like, how was this a 4-day week only? We celebrated the life of Dr. King at the beginning of the week and worked the rest of the week. Today's National Pi Day. Like, I should be happy because I built an organization called Pi, and it's not Pi Day. It's not 3.14. That's when the Silicon Forest Tech Summit will be held, but it is Pi Day. So if it's still Friday when you're seeing this, please have a piece of pie or some pizza or that kind of thing. Got to talk to a bunch of interesting folks this week. The AI Portland organizers brought together a group of technology event organizers to just kind of get everybody in the same room. Ran into a lot of folks there that I've known throughout the years who've been organizers of user groups and events and meetup groups and all that kind of thing. So thanks once again to Megan and Nicole of AI Portland for putting that together. It was a really great event. And they also surveyed the crowd to get some feedback on challenges and opportunities around events in Portland. So as that data becomes available, I will be happy to share that with you, because I think it's important that you know that these people who are organizing these events are often doing it in a purely voluntary, out of the goodness of their heart kind of way. And anything and everything we can do to support them is important. It's important to our community, and it's important to the growth and sustainability and camaraderie and ethos of the Portland tech and startup community. So thanks to each and every one of those folks who put in the effort, volunteer the effort to organize other things for people to gather. And that was it was really meaningful, and I was happy to be invited to attend. So thank you again for doing that. That's part of the reason I sponsor AI Portland. I think what they do is great. And I think they're great stewards of community and recognize opportunities to bring community together in a variety of ways. So again, Megan, Nicole, great job. Thank you for doing that. Talked to a bunch of founders, like some AI founders, some founders I've known for a while who are serial founders, doing new things, got some new stuff coming up, new ways of like building housing was a conversation. So it was all over the place this week in the founders I was talking to. And, there's a lot of really, really good energy, which makes this next thing I'm going to say slightly counterintuitive, but there's a lot of really, really good energy and momentum. And there are all these great event organizers, and I'm talking to all these founders, and I'm getting more and more exceedingly frustrated, like pissed off, because let me see if I can put this briefly. Since it's secrets and you're like, dude, I stayed here to be entertained, not to listen to you bitch about everything. Okay. So here's why I'm upset, and probably why I'm cranky this week, probably why I'm getting continually crankier as time goes on, is you can probably tell by the beard, or if you're listening to the podcast, the voice, that I've been here for a while. I've been in Portland for 30 years. I've worked in venture-funded tech startups the whole time I've been in Portland, on and around. And so I've been through this community development cycle, this technological sea change causes everything to start all over again thing multiple times here. The first time I went through it, I was just a participant. I was just learning. I was just, absorbing, meeting people, being part of the community. Second and third time around, whatever the count is, I was learning to organize. I was trying to do the work of organizing and bringing people together, but I was just making assumptions, and I was just guessing, and I was trying shit. And if I have this diagram on me trying to find it. You like do shit. If the shit works, keep doing that shit. If it didn't work, stop doing it. That's basically was my mantra for organizing previously. And I think the thing I find so incredibly frustrating is I have been here before. I have learned what works when we are at this stage as a community, and there's so much opportunity right now that is obvious to me, so many things that obviously need to be done in order for the community to continue to grow and succeed. And it is just way more than I can carve out volunteer time to do while working a day job and doing community stuff on the side. So that's the part that's frustrating. I think that's why I'm cranky. If you're being my therapist as you listen to this, I will admit to you, I am cranky because I am frustrated by the fact that I can't do as much as I would like to do. And I know exactly what I need to do right now. And it's not telling other people how to do it or telling other people what they should do, because they have their own ideas about what they should be doing. Like, some people want to help build an accelerator or a co-working space or run their event, and that is great. And I love that, and I want to support that. But I have my own ideas, my own learnings, my own experience, and my own wisdom. And I know exactly where we are. And I know what pushes us forward beyond this point where we are right now. And I know, more importantly, what can fuck it up. And that is like, I'm clenching my teeth, gritting my teeth, whatever you do, because I'm like, oh, no, I've seen this go off the rails before. We need to be careful. We need to do this part and make sure this part is here, and I can't do that. And unfortunately, it's like non-obvious. So that's why I'm frustrated. So that's it. I'm gonna quit complaining, because that's not helpful to anyone. Just know that I'm thinking about that. I'm trying to figure out ways to really help push the community forward, help people get connected, ensure that you have access to all the resources you need to build the type of company that you want to build, that your startup has the greatest chance of success. You have the greatest chance of being a healthy, happy, successful founder or startup worker or tech community person, whatever the case is. That's important. And so I'm frustrated. I'm angry, frustrated, angry, anxious, all the emotions. Okay. As I said, we got this. We just got to keep pushing forward. Lots of good things happening, lots of good momentum, lots of interesting things happening. The focus is starting to come back, and I'm really bullish on the potential for our region in 2026. I really like the energy. I hope you're able to tap into it and benefit from what's happening here as well. Hang in there. And until we get the chance to chat again, please keep up the good work.